Kevin worked a forklifter at an Amazon fulfillment center in Indianapolis for 31 years. He made $19 an hour when he started, topped out around 24. He never got a bonus, never got stock options, never inherited anything. When he walked out on his last day in 2023, he had $480,000 sitting in his retirement account. His coworker Tony, same warehouse, similar pay, started the same year, retired with $14,000. One decision separated them. Kevin made it at age 27, and he never thought about it again. Most warehouse workers in America earn between $35,000 and $50,000 a year. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the median hourly wage for material movers and hand laborers sits around $18 to $20 an hour. That's not a fortune. That's rent, groceries, a car payment, maybe a little left over at the end of the month if nothing breaks. And yet the Federal Reserve's 2022 Survey of Consumer Finances found that the median retirement savings for Americans aged 55 to 64 is just $134,000, meaning most people who spent their whole working life doing physical, demanding work are walking away with barely enough to cover 2 or 3 years of basic expenses.
Kevin wasn't smarter than his coworkers. He didn't have a finance degree. He didn't pick winning stocks. He made one structural decision early, let time do the work, and ended up with a number that most Americans with twice his salary never reach. Here's what actually happened. When Kevin was 27, his warehouse switched to a new benefit system and started offering a 401k with a company match. HR sent everyone an email. Most people ignored it or opted in at the minimum, 1% of their paycheck, just to say they did something. Kevin asked one question to the HR rep on his lunch break. What's the most you'll match? The answer was 4%. So Kevin set his contribution to 4% immediately. That's it. That was the decision.
At $36,000 a year, what he was making back then, 4% came out to $1,440 a year from Kevin's check. The company matched it dollar for dollar, so his account was actually receiving $2,880 a year before it grew a single penny. He never saw that money. It came out before his paycheck hit his bank account. He never missed it because he never had it. That's the thing about automatic contributions. You don't fight the temptation to spend money you never see. It's not about willpower, it's about removing the choice entirely. Now here's where the numbers do something most people don't believe until they see it written out. $2,880 a year invested in a basic S&P 500 index fund, which returned an average of roughly 10.5% annually over the past 30 years, according to data from Morningstar, doesn't just add up, it compounds. Each year's gains start earning their own gains. After 10 years, Kevin's account wasn't at $28,800. It was closer to $48,000. After 20 years, it crossed $170,000. By year 31, it was at $480,000. Same $2,880 a year. Just time.
Tony didn't opt in until his late 40s, when a family member pushed him to start. By then, he had maybe 15 working years left. Even if Tony contributed the same amount, starting late cost him the most powerful ingredient in the whole formula: early years. Compounding needs time the way a fire needs oxygen. Without it, you've got sparks instead of heat. A lot of people hear this and think, well, I'm already 40, so it's too late for me. It's not. It just means the math is different, not impossible. If you start at 40 and retire at 67, that's 27 years. $2,880 a year compounding at 10% gets you past $340,000. That's not $480,000, but it's not $14,000 either. The second thing Kevin did, and he'll be the first to tell you he did this mostly by accident, was he never touched the account. Not during 2008 when the market dropped nearly 40% and everyone around him was panicking. Not during 2020 when the COVID crash hit and his balance dropped by $60,000 in 6 weeks. He didn't move it, didn't cash it out, didn't even log in to look at it more than once a year. This matters more than most people realize. According to a study by Fidelity Investments, the best performing accounts in their system over a 10-year period were held by people who had either forgotten they had the account or were dead. That's not a joke. Inactivity outperformed active management. The people who kept logging in and making changes, moving money around during downturns, chasing better performing funds, consistently earned less than the people who did nothing. Kevin's version of doing nothing was actually a discipline he didn't know he had. When the market crashed, he had bills to pay and a floor to sweep. He didn't have the mental bandwidth to micromanage investments, and that turned out to be the thing that protected him.
There's a third piece to this that doesn't get talked about enough. Fees. Kevin's 401k was invested in a target date fund with an expense ratio of 0.15%. That's 15 cents for every $100 invested per year. Some funds charge 1% or more, which sounds small until you understand that over 30 years, a 1% fee on a $480,000 account can cost you over $100,000 in lost growth. Kevin wasn't paying attention to fees consciously, but the default fund his HR department picked happened to be a low-cost index fund, and that mattered. If your 401k has fund options you've never looked at, look this week. Find the expense ratio. If it's above 0.5%, you're leaking money quietly every single year.
Kevin's story isn't about sacrifice. He didn't give up vacations or eat ramen for 30 years. He set up one thing correctly at the right time and then lived his normal life. The decision that made him $480,000 richer than Tony took about 4 minutes in an HR office. If you have a 401k at work and your employer matches contributions and you are not contributing at least enough to get the full match, you are leaving part of your salary on the table. Not figuratively, literally. Your employer is offering you money and you are not picking it up. Go in Monday, find out what your company matches, set your contribution to at least that number. Then don't touch it. That's it. That's the move. His nephew did it the following Monday. He's contributing 3%, his company matches 3%, and at 24, he has 40 years of compounding ahead of him. Tony is working part-time at a hardware store to cover the gap between his Social Security check and his rent. He's 64. He's not complaining about it, but he thinks about that email from HR in 1994 that he deleted without opening. The warehouse never changes. The forklift still runs. The boxes still move. The only thing that separates Kevin from Tony isn't talent or luck. It's one 4-minute conversation and a form he filled out in a break room while he ate a sandwich. You still have time to be Kevin. Most people watching this do. The question is whether you act like it. If this is the kind of financial education you wish someone had handed you earlier, you know where to find the next one.